Settling on the Tennessee frontier brought Springfield's first citizens hardship, danger, and adventure. Hardship from just trying to survive and stay alive. Medical aid was practically non-existent. Childbirth was a constant worry for the women of the community. A simple cold could develop into a fatal illness. Danger from Indian raids and attacks were always a constant threat. Yet, adventurous pioneers kept coming to farm and raise a family in Springfield and Robertson County.
When I talk about the early days of Springfield, I like to think back before this landmass was even Springfield or Robertson County. This was the western frontier before that time. No one lived here. There were Native Americans who came here using this as a hunting ground, and we also had long hunters who came here. Now, they were called long hunters for two reasons. One was that they would leave North Carolina or Virginia and they would come here and they would be gone from home so long hunting. The other reason for their name that is thought to be correct is the long guns that they used when they came here hunting. In 1769, there was a group of those long hunters here, and one of those men later told the story of the buffalo being so vast that he feared for being trampled to death, even though he was on horseback. And another said, there again, it was like they totally covered this land mass. Now, we modern people don't think about buffalo being in what we know as Springfield and Robertson County. We think of it as being out west, but they were here as well, with no one living here. By 1788, this area was designated as Tennessee County, North Carolina Territory. We had just finished the Revolutionary War. North Carolina had no money to pay their soldiers, so they paid them in land that was located here. If you were a private with a certain number of months' service, you got 640 acres of land. And as your rank went up, the number of acres that you were awarded for your military service went up as well. The men who came here to survey those land plots also were paid in land here. So there was a number of them who acquired thousands of acres of land in this area. In March of 1796, Old Tennessee County, North Carolina Territory was divided. They had just created the new 16th state of the Union, and they divided Old Tennessee County, North Carolina, into what we know as Robertson County, Montgomery County, a little bit of Cheatham, a little bit of Dixon off west of here. And Springfield, then 1 month later, was designated by an act of the new Tennessee General Assembly to be the county seat for this newly formed Robertson County, Tennessee. By 1798, the town fathers had created survey. They acquired 30 acres of land from Archer Cheatham for 100 cents. And they acquired 20 acres from Thomas Johnson at no charge to be the county seat area. In 1798, Thomas Johnson had surveyed into town lots that acreage that became the first town boundaries. Now, of interest today is just how small it really was. That new survey only went to the north as far as 4th Avenue today. It only went to the south as far as 7th Avenue today. To the east, what we know as Memorial Boulevard would have been the boundary line, and to the west, Garner Street. So that's a very narrow area, especially to get 60-some-odd town lots on it. Right in the center of that survey, you can see the public square area, and they built a courthouse in that empty space in the center of that survey. The first one was log, then the second one was built in 1819, and it had some brick on it. And it's also in 1819 that they first incorporated Springfield to be a town. In October of 1819, they actually passed an act by the General Assembly to establish Springfield as a city incorporated. Also in 1819, they did the first addition to the town of Springfield, and that addition covered what is today 7th Avenue to 8th Avenue and South Main Street to Willow Street. This added 12 more town lots to the town. In 1834, we were 40 years old already. You think about it. And it's reported that at that point, Springfield had 300 inhabitants, 4 stores, 2 taverns, 3 blacksmiths, 2 tailors, 1 shoemaker, 2 saddlers, and 3 stage stops from Nashville every week. Now, it's of note that none of those businesses could stay open on Sundays. Part of our people at that time were still heavily into the freedom of religion for which America was started to begin with. You think, too, there's no electricity, there's no water except what they go to the creek and get, or wells that were dug, and lots of people had cisterns. They had dug a cistern on the northeast corner of the courthouse, which was a vitally important source of water. The city minutes tell us that in the dry summer months, they sprinkled the water onto the streets on a regular basis to hold down the dust. In the winter months when it was wet and snow, etc., they put chestnut trees over the roads to help keep from having the wagons, horses get hung up in the mud. Interesting way to live. You think about that. In 1872, we had a major fire on the square that burned quite a number of the buildings. But before that, we have to think about 1839, the First Presbyterian Church was established on the corner of Fifth Avenue and Locust Street, an important part, again, of that religious movement that was here. When the federal troops moved in February of 1862, after the fall of Fort Donelson and Fort Henry in the Civil War, they used the older portion of that church building, the sanctuary, as a stable for their horses. They had an office here on the square, and they also set up a tented encampment on what is today between Brown Street and Maple Street. Those soldiers stayed here. We have reports from the newspapers in 1868, 3 years after the war is over with, that we still had federal troops here in Springfield. So just imagine how it was for the people at that time. Now, they've still got no electricity, and there's no such thing as a telephone. They're still going to the well. They're going to their outdoor toilets, and the city minutes tell us on a regular basis where they're instructing the citizens of the town to put lime in their outdoor toilets to hold down the odors